Hello and welcome to Cleveland Classic Cinema. Tonight's movie is 1932's $1 Million Legs, directed by Edward Clyde. I first saw this movie back in the late 70s, courtesy of that gift to late-night stoners known as 8 All Night. They had just shown some no-name second feature, and I saw this clip right after the announcer stated, "Next on 8 All Night, W.C. Fields in $1 Million Legs."
You're not going to let them frighten you, are you?
Well, me? The only reason I'm shaking is because I'm sore.
My hero.
Hey! Look, it's alive, and it's after us. Come. Hey! Well, whatever it is, it's miles behind us now. I thought you'd show up sooner or later.
Now, how could I possibly miss something like that? I sat down and watched the movie and never forgot it due to the absolute insanity of the picture. Although it's thought of as a W.C. Fields picture, it really isn't. Fields is in the movie, but he didn't have anything to do with the screenplay. He's basically a featured player, as the real star is Jack Oakie. The way this particular movie came about is kind of interesting. The 1928 Summer Olympics were the first Olympiad that women were allowed to compete in track and field events, but there was one particular competitor that caught the eye of one of the writers of this film, Joseph L. Mankiewicz, an Albanian pole vaulter that competed wearing goatskin shorts. He filed that away for future reference, and after being hired as a writer for Paramount by his brother Herman, he was assigned to write a film that would capitalize on the hubbub created by the 1932 Summer Olympics, which were being held in Los Angeles. Mankiewicz was pretty much given free rein as far as the writing of the film went. All the studio wanted was something that would exploit the publicity surrounding the Olympiad. The result was this film. Now, before I go on, let me tell you a little bit about Joseph L. Mankiewicz. Born on February 11, 1909 in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, his family moved to New York where he earned a bachelor's degree from Columbia University and went to work for the Chicago Tribune as a foreign correspondent in Berlin. After returning to the States, he moved to Hollywood and began writing screenplays with much success, penning his first hit, 1931's Skippy, and scoring an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. He continued writing for Paramount following the screenplay for tonight's movie, with another brilliant script for the 1932 anthology film If I Had a Million, 1933's Alice in Wonderland, and 1934's Manhattan Melodrama. Mankiewicz left Paramount in the mid-1930s and went to work for MGM, where he produced such films as 1936's Fury, directed by Fritz Lang, 1939's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1940's The Philadelphia Story, and 1942's Woman of the Year. Wanting to direct, he moved to 20th Century Fox and wrote and directed films there, including 1947's The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, 1948's A Letter to Three Wives, and the film that is widely regarded as his greatest, 1950's All About Eve, which was nominated for an amazing 14 Academy Awards. He followed this up with 1951's People Will Talk, another film I caught on the Channel 23 All Night Movies. and never forgot. A remake of the German film Frau Narr's Dr. Pretorius. It was an amazing film for the time it was made, concerning such taboo at the time subjects as pregnancy out of wedlock and attempted suicide. Some saw it as a metaphor for the communist witch hunts going on in Washington, and Mankiewicz, who was at the time president of the Screen Directors Guild and despised both Senator Joseph McCarthy and the House Un-American Activities Committee, didn't deny it. It was a brave move, since both McCartney and Hewack were destroying the careers of people all over Hollywood, and even those just tangentially suspected were being blacklisted. In 1960, he made what was referred to as a career-destroying decision when he took the directorial chores of that year's Cleopatra over from its initial director, Ruben Mamoulian. The film was, at that point, several $1 million over budget with no usable footage, since many of the key actors had left the production to do other work. In addition to this, star Elizabeth Taylor fell seriously ill and required an emergency tracheotomy, which delayed the production for months. On top of that, she and co-star Richard Burton began an illicit affair which garnered a ton of publicity, of the negative sort, since both of them were married to other people at the time. Mankiewicz was fired at the end of the production, but subsequently rehired when no one could make a usable product out of the miles of footage already shot. He turned in a 6-hour cut of the film, which was cut by the studio over Mankiewicz's strenuous objections, to a mere 3 hours. Although the film was the highest-grossing movie of 1963, it was still a colossal flop and nearly bankrupted 20th Century Fox. Mankiewicz was blamed for the failure of the picture, and this adversely affected his career. He made only one more studio film, 1970's There Was a Crooked Man, and worked in television until he made his last film, 1972's Sleuth, starring Sir Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine. Joseph L. Mankiewicz died of heart failure on February 5, 1993 in Bedford, New York. I've seen a good number of his films, and all of them have something to recommend them. They are all thoughtful, funny, and yet serious films that deserve their reputations. I'll have to dig up a few of them for the show, as they are definitely well worth seeing. Getting back to tonight's movie, I have to say that this is one of the more insane films it's been my pleasure to view. Nothing in it makes even a lick of sense, but it's so freewheeling that you can't help but enjoy it. The plot is as follows. Klopstokia, a small country on the verge of bankruptcy, is persuaded to join the 1932 Olympics as a way to raise money via corporate sponsorship by a visiting brush salesman by the name of Mick Tweeny. He falls in love with a Klopstokian girl by the name of Angela, who just so happens to be the daughter of the Klopstokian president. The way you become president is by being stronger than anyone else in the country. So the Prez is constantly being challenged by his cabinet to contests of strength, which he wins easily. There are spies all over the place, coups are constantly in the offing, and there's no way I could explain this movie that would make any sense at all. You'll just have to watch it. Jack Oakie was born Louis Delaney Offield on November 12, 1903 in Sedalia, Missouri. He appeared in 101 movies and television series over the course of his long career, beginning with 1923's His Children's Children. His character was what you'd call a lovable lug in many of his movies, and he was dubbed the world's oldest freshman for the many college roles he played as a college student well into his 30s. He specialized in comedy and is probably best remembered for his role as Benzio Napoleone, a takeoff on Benito Mussolini in Charlie Chaplin's 1940 classic, The Great Dictator. He's very funny in this movie, and how he can sing the Klopstokian national anthem with a straight face is beyond me. He was once quoted as saying, "The pictures I made were called the bread and butter pictures of the studio. They cost nothing and made millions, and supported the prestige productions that cost millions and made nothing." Jack Oakie died from an aortic aneurysm on January 23, 1978 in Los Angeles, California. Andy Clyde was born on March 25, 1892 in Blairgowrie, Penthshire, Scotland, United Kingdom. He started his career performing on vaudeville stages and music halls in his native Scotland in the 1920s and migrated to the United States, settling in Hollywood, where he started out as an extra in Mack Sennett's silent comedies and soon worked his way up to featured player, usually as a second banana, appearing in an amazing 393 movies and television series during his 45-year career. He starred in short subjects for educational pictures and then moved to Columbia, where he continued appearing in a series of very popular shorts, a couple of which, 1934's In the Doghouse and 1956's Pardon My Nightshirt, you'll see after the feature tonight. In the mid-50s, he moved into television, appearing in such shows as Gunsmoke, The Real McCoys, The Andy Griffith Show, and Lassie. He's probably best remembered for playing California Jack on the Hopalong Cassidy TV series. Andy Clyde died of natural causes on May 18, 1967 in Los Angeles, California. There are a ton of familiar faces in this film, including Vernon Dent, a frequent antagonist to the Three Stooges, Billy Gilbert, who shows off his fake sneezing expertise, Hugh Herbert, who regular viewers will recognize from Hell's A-Poppin', Dickie Moore, late of our gang, Charlie Hall, a regular in Laurel and Hardy shorts, and in his first movie, Don Wilson, the announcer for the Jack Benny program. $1 Million Legs is a crazy movie, no doubt about it, but it's a lot of fun to watch. So right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy $1 Million Legs, right here on Cleveland Classics Cinema.